When working with Excel, you might need to execute a function under certain conditions or logic. In these instances, you can use a logical function calculation like an if function. In this video, you'll explore the purpose of logical functions, review some common use cases, and learn the syntax for creating a logical function formula using the if function. Over at AdventureWorks, Lucas is reviewing the monthly sales reports. He needs to find out if any of the sales staff are entitled to a monthly bonus as a reward for exceeding their sales targets. You can help Lucas to identify which sales team members deserve a bonus by using an if function formula. But before you can help AdventureWorks, you'll need to find out more about how logical functions work. You can use logical functions to ask yes or no questions about your data. If the function returns yes as its answer, then you can direct Excel to perform the required action. However, if the function returns an answer of no, then Excel can be directed to perform a different action. For example, you can direct AdventureWorks' if function formula to ask the question, has this salesperson met their target? If the answer is yes, then they'll be awarded their bonus. If the answer is no, then they're not awarded a bonus. When logical functions such as if run a test, they determine the answer by comparing the value in a cell against a specified criterion. For these tests to work, the formula must contain logical operators. The logical operators determine what kind of question the formula is asking and what value it needs for its answer. These operators can be used to compare both text and numeric entries. Let's review some examples of these operators. The equal sign is the first of the mathematical operators that Excel uses in logical functions. Excel uses this operator to check if the value of one item is equal to that of another item. For example, a formula that tests if 1 equals 1 would return the value of true. The logical symbols greater than and less than are used by Excel to test if one value is larger or smaller than another. An Excel formula that performed the logical tests 2 is greater than 1 and 1 is less than 2 would return an answer of true for both tests. The greater than and less than symbols can also be combined with the equals sign. This combination lets Excel confirm if a value is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to another value. Let's take a formula where Excel checks to see if the value in cell D2 is the same as or larger than the value of 400. If even one of these arguments were true, then the test would return the value of true. Finally, a very useful set of logical operators is not equal to. This is when the less than and greater than symbols are typed back to back. This combination of operators is interpreted by Excel as not equal to. In other words, you're asking Excel to determine that value A does not equate to value B. For example, the result of the logical test 1 is not equal to 2 would be true because the two numbers are different values. So, you've discovered how an if function formula works, but how do you make use of one? When constructing the if function formula, you need to give Excel 3 pieces of information. The first piece of information is called the logical test. For the logical test, you need to identify the cell that contains the value to be checked. You also need to specify the test to be carried out in relation to this value. This is the if keyword followed by parentheses. It's within these parentheses that you must type the logical test. For example, Lucas needs Excel to check the total sales of each team member to determine if they meet their monthly target. The next instruction tells Excel what to do or what to display if the test returns a result of true. In Lucas's case, if his test returns a value of true, then the team member is awarded a bonus. The third and final argument is what Excel should do or display if the logical test returns the result of false. If Lucas's test returns a value of false for a team member, then Excel returns a value of 0. In other words, that person is not awarded a bonus. Now that you've reviewed the elements of an if function formula, let's make use of your new skills and help Lucas create a formula to check the sales team's monthly figures and determine which employees are entitled to a bonus. The dataset Lucas requires is in a workbook called Monthly Sales. The workbook contains 4 sheets, one for each sales team. For this exercise, let's just focus on the results for Team A. The worksheet lists the name of each team member, their total monthly sales, and their monthly target. The bonus amounts must be calculated and listed within column E. Any team member who meets or exceeds their target is awarded the bonus figure in cell H4. Let's begin by finding out if team member Michelle Cook is entitled to a bonus. Position the cursor on cell E4. Type an equal sign, the keyword if, and an opening parentheses. You need to place your arguments for the if function within parentheses. Notice the floating help message prompting you for the 3 arguments that the function needs. Select cell C4 for Michelle's monthly sales data. Type a greater than symbol followed by an equal sign, then select cell D4 and type a comma. This instructs Excel to check if Michelle's sales figures for this month are greater than or equal to her assigned target. However, as you can see from the bold prompt text, the formula is still incomplete. You now need to instruct Excel on what bonus value to award. You must also include what action Excel should take if the result of the logical test is true or yes, and what to do if the result is false or no. Select cell H4 for the value if true. Add a $sign before the column initial and the row number. This $sign prevents Excel from adjusting it when copied. Then type a comma followed by a 0 for the value if false. This 0 indicates that Michelle doesn't receive a bonus if Excel doesn't return the required value. Finally, type a closing parentheses to end your arguments. Press Enter to execute the if function formula. The results show that Michelle has met her sales target and has earned a bonus of $500 for this month. Copy the formula down the column and execute it to determine how the other team members have performed. The results show that 3 team members met their sales targets and could be awarded a bonus. 2 team members did not reach their targets, so should not receive a bonus. Thanks to your help, Lucas successfully created the if function formula he needed to complete his task. And having assisted Lucas, you should now know how if functions work and recognize the correct syntax to create a logical formula using if. Well done.